working with, for Fritz?
Yeah. And Fritz was hard. He was really hard, but he demanded respect, and if you did what you were supposed to do, he was a great guy. They talk a lot. I saw a little bit of his son's movie. A lot of that wasn't true. They say, oh, it was no, because I worked with Fritz a couple, and I worked with all the Von Erichs the same. And the hardest one to work with was Kevin. But with Kerry, I had no problem at all with him. So I mean, he demanded respect and he got respect. But you did what you were supposed to do, no problems.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that movie because I saw it, and I tried to go in from not the perspective of a wrestling historian, but just watching a movie, and there were certain parts of it that I just couldn't get over. What overall, though, putting aside the fact that you were a central figure in that promotion during the time, did you think it was somewhat of a good portrayal of the world class phenomenon at the time, or very deficient?
Well, I'm gonna have to call bull because like I said, I worked with all of them, and the territory was hard and long, but a lot of that movie was not accurate at all. Kevin, they say a guy from England made the movie, wrote the movie, and everything on what he had seen on tapes. Well, he must have seen that because it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. Someone told me that, oh, Fritz was horrible. He was pushing steroids on the kids and all the kids, and no, Fritz was trying to get them in line and make them go the right way. Now, Michael had his own thing that he wanted to do, but Fritz was like, no, his kids weren't all that straight, I guess you want to call it. But Fritz, he was doing what Fritz made a living in the wrestling business, and his kids were going to make a living in the wrestling business also. Now, as far as wanting to go do it, if his kids would have said, I want to, well, look at Kerry with the shot put, a disc, or whatever he was doing. Fritz gave him to go ahead and do it. So if the kids were going the right way, Fritz would let them go the right way. Mm-hmm. So I didn't see the whole movie or anything. I just heard bits and pieces of it, but Fritz wasn't all that bad of a guy.
Mm-hmm. In terms of your being under the tutelage of Gary Hart, I wanted to go back to him again because he has to be one of the most underappreciated minds in wrestling history, in terms of not only his booking, but how effective he later became as a manager. What did he do in terms of your package?
Well, he opened a lot of doors for me, and Gary, now here I'm bragging a little bit. Gary realized what talent was. And apparently I must have had the talent because he pushed me, pretty high. He saw talent, and most managers would always interfere with the matches. Gary didn't do that. Gary let me get my heat. Gary let me do whatever he had to do. And Gary he would distract you by just like hit the mat, just to distract my opponent for a second, and I would take over. But Gary was a genius when it came to that wrestling business. He was underrated, I believe, but let me tell you something. He was another one. If he liked you and he saw talent, he'd take it as far as he could, and he did. When we left Texas, we went to NWA, and I got there in the middle of here with Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and I'm in the middle of all the conflict with that. So really and truly, I didn't do a whole bunch. And then they had teamed up. They put Gary with Abdullah the Butcher and Larry Zbyszko, and just started working my way out. And I told Gary at the end of it, I told him, I said, I'm going to the office. I'm giving my 2-week notice, you know, because I believe it was Ken Mantell that came in as the new booker.